All right, everybody. Welcome to the people that just jumped in the last couple minutes. Thanks for joining me. My name is Nick Abel. I'll be conducting this webinar for YCharts here. Also, I'd like to make a quick note. This is actually one of the highest attendances we've had for a webinar, so that's pretty exciting for me as well. Before we jump in here and I get to show you some pretty cool stuff, I just want to let you know that if you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to type them into that chat section on the right-hand side of your toolbar there. And then what I'll do is at the end, I will tackle them one at a time, and we'll go through those questions. So basically where I'd like to start today is just giving you guys a high-level overview of the platform, put some of the things I'm going to show to you in context here. YCharts is a full-service financial terminal. It's all web-based. And we cover a lot of different types of data sets and give you a bunch of different tools to interpret, analyze, find investment ideas, and utilize those different data sets in ways that kind of marry perfectly to whatever type of research process you're currently operating. A little bit about the data that we cover. So we're going to cover all North American exchanges when it comes to equities. Comes to about 22,600 individual equities. That's going to include any international companies that have any type of share class exposure on those North American exchanges as well. Comes out to about 4,000 or so of those ADRs is what they're referred to. And for each individual company in our system, we're going to have up to 50 years of price history, 30 years of financial and fundamental history. And a metric that's made us famous recently is that we have just over 4,500 separate different data sets per company that you can drill down into, screen on, track for each of those companies. When it comes to our other kind of complementary data sets, we're going to have just over 48,000 mutual funds, ETFs, closed-end funds as well. And then finally, about 2,000 indices. We'll be rolling in about 15,000 or so indices in the future in the next couple months. And then we also have a large database of macroeconomic data. It comes to about just under 400,000 separate data sets there. So that being said, I'm not going to show you the whole platform today. What I would like to do is focus on some of the more popular uses for the system. I guess areas you could say we've had the biggest impact on various clients' research processes. And I'd like to take you through just a quick look at how people are using YCharts and maybe the flow from one tool to another and how they kind of work together here. And so with that, I'm going to start with our idea generation platform. We have a equity and fund screener in our system. And I'm going to be biased, but I do believe they are some of the more powerful screening capabilities currently available in the industry. At the tools drop-down, you can just quickly navigate to these two tools. We're going to start with the equity screener. I'll touch on the fund screener very quickly at the end of that. They both function essentially the same with obviously different data sets at your fingertips. So here we have the equity screener. This tool essentially revolves around these two buttons on the left-hand side, Modify Equity Universe and Add a Metric Filter. And these tools are going to be your qualitative and your quantitative criteria, respectively, to start to build a universe of companies that might be perfect for your investment strategy. They might be a list of companies that you're looking to gather more information on. There's even a few other interesting use cases for our screener that I'll touch on here in a bit as well. But we make it very easier for you to jump in and translate an idea that you have in your head into very real and concrete results in the form of lists of companies that make it through your strict criteria. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you very quickly how easy it is to put together a couple of these, and then I'll show you a couple saved ones that I have. And then I'll touch on a brand new tool that we've just added over the last couple months called scoring models. Now, the first button that most folks will start with is this Modify Equity Universe button. And when you click that, it's going to open up this window shopping cart. It's going to give you the ability to combine a bunch of different criteria. It can start with just stocks, just ETFs. You can focus in on specific exchanges. So for this particular example, I'm just going to say, you know what, I just want to see major U.S. exchanges. So I don't want to see any Canadian or OTC bulletin board pink sheets. And I can click Submit there. And what that does is that simply adds a layer to the onion of what we're looking for. So 7,500 companies have made it through that filter, and we can keep clicking in there and adding more criteria. So I can say something like, for a top-down approach, some folks might identify a specific industry or sector that may be oversold or overbought. Perhaps they have an event-driven strategy. Of course, energy as an example, has been a pretty popular, focus point for the last year and a half or so. You can come into the system and you can say, you know what, only show me the entire oil and gas industry in the United States. Better yet, you can do the reverse of that and use this exclude logic or add logic at the top and say, you know what, show me the entire breadth of stocks in the system, but exclude the energy industry. You can also drill down into specific subsectors, so I can say healthcare and then specifically biotech or drug manufacturers. And as you add these layers to your investable universe or whatever you're using the screening tool to find, it's going to allow you to kind of set all of those criteria first, so then you can jump into the quantitative filters. So as an example, I'll just open up one of my saved screens here. I've got dozens and dozens over the course of my product demonstrations, but one I like to show off here real quickly is the dividend power and Y rating strength screen. So here I took a very simple approach. This is more of a bottom-up style of strategy here. Reason being that I decided just to make the system show me stocks that trade on major U.S. exchanges. So that's the extent of my qualitative filters here, but where you'll see is under my metric filters, I've added quite a few pretty stringent requirements here. And I can show you how to add them. And basically this is all coming from the Add a Metric Filter button. So when I click this button, it's going to open up this window, and it's going to allow me to combine any of those 4,500 separate metrics we have per company with basic arithmetic, with basic arguments to come up with exactly what I am looking for at any given point in time. So here I've got a couple examples. I jumped in and I added a market cap screen, and I said, you know what, only show me companies whose market cap is above 500 million. And once you add that, it's going to whittle down that number further and further. This particular example uses dividend metrics. So I searched for dividend yield. I wanted to see positive dividend yield, a couple dividend growth metrics going back in time. And then I also used some of our proprietary value-based scores, which I'll touch on later in the webinar here, to kind of round out our screen. And so essentially what I did is I started with 19,000 stocks and ended up with 28. And they could be considered a great group of companies to start to drill down into one at a time and really find that perfect next investment. And that's not the, only way you can use the screening tool here. So a couple other great examples are, using the platform not so much as a stock picking tool, but perhaps identifying potential clients for a sales organization or looking at major competitors. You can do this using both of these buttons. So what if I go up to Reset All and kind of give ourselves a blank canvas here, I can jump in and I can say, you know what, I want to see a specific sector that is located in a specific region. Perhaps I'm a company that primarily sells to utility companies in California. So I can go sectors, utilities, I can go to regulated water, submit. And here we've got 50 companies. I can imagine there's probably a couple in California, but I can then jump into that real quick as well. And then finally, you can rank companies in our system using the Scoring Models button. This opens up this window. It's a brand new feature we just recently added. It allows you to combine different criteria into a custom weighted score and then rank those results at the bottom from 1 to X based on how many you've made through those filters. That's basically the equity screener in a nutshell. As you can see, it's very powerful, very customizable, and there's a lot of different ways you can use it. Of course, you can always export the data straight into Excel here with this button on the right. You can save your watch list, which is just capturing these results, in this case 50 equities. And then you can then take that list of companies into other sections of the site, whether you're going to be doing charting or building tables of aggregated financials. I'll touch on the fund screener for just a couple seconds. It works much the same way, just with different criteria. It revolves around those two buttons. If you click on Modify Fund Universe, it's going to give you the same window but different options. In our system, you can drill down into specific broad categories, U.S. equity. You can specify whether these companies should be large cap value, mid cap growth. You can look at prospectus objectives, category names, the Morningstar categories if you're familiar with those. You can even specify benchmark indices and brokerage availability. We have one of the strongest fund screeners in existence right now, so it's been pretty fun for us to see how folks are using that. So that's the idea generation tools at their core. Basically, what they allow you to do is quickly translate a strategy that you've developed over years, or maybe something you read in a book, into a easy to kind of interpret and easy to use custom list of stocks. Now I'm going to take us into what it looks like when you've found a particular company that you would like to do more research on. Here I'm just going to use our search function at the top. It's very much like Google in that it's predictive. So if I start to type the word Apple, you're going to see I have a bunch of different results drop down there. First of all, Apple the company. I've got an Apple Hospitality REIT, the Appleseed Institutional Mutual Fund, and then some economic data, U.S. producer price indices for farm products. As you can see, we're across the board in terms of what types of data we cover, but we're going to stick with Apple the company here for our example. So we've just made it into the overview or the quote page for this company. You'll see there's a gray menu bar along the top that will allow you to drill down into specific areas of the company's data. I'm going to cover just the quote page here and a couple more popular uses of this particular aspect of the site. Scrolling down, we've got the title of the company. It's intraday price change, which is a minute and a half delayed. And scrolling down, we're going to have a basic price chart, key stats, which is essentially a grouping of about 20 or so of the most popular metrics in our system, so that you can quickly see a snapshot of what's going on with the company. Scrolling even further, we're going to have a news feed for each company in our system. We pull news from just over 24 different sources. An events calendar, so you can keep track on when a company has earnings announcements, splits, spin-offs, dividends, release dates, etc. And on the right-hand side, you're going to get a section for our proprietary ratings, which is the Y rating, an area where you can download a pre-made PDF one-page report for a company, and then finally a little bit about the company. So links to their investor relations pages, headquarter countries, states, fiscal calendars, criteria for their sector and industries, and then even a paragraph talking about the history of the company and their major products and services. That's in a nutshell what you would get on that front end. So a lot of data and useful data rather packed into that one tab. I'm going to touch really briefly on one of the more popular ones here, key stats. I'll just select that. It's an area of the site where we basically take about 200 or so of the most popular metrics from our 4,000 basket, and it categorizes it by the, I guess, similar other metrics that you would look at if you're doing a specific area of research, whether you're looking at a company's income statement, cash flow statement, maybe you're looking at profitability metrics, etc. So you can quickly see what's going on there. Another thing that we just recently added is this sub-tab here, which essentially allows you to compare a company's key stats to a bunch of customizable comparables. So each company will have pre-made comparables, but you can also always jump in there and you can specify companies you would like to pull in. And you can quickly see how one company stacks up against their peers in valuation metrics like price to earnings, EV, multiples. Scrolling through, you're going to have all those different other categories as well. So the name of the game here is jumping in, finding the data that is important to you, relevant to your research, and then going on about your day. One thing I'd like to touch on here is our fundamental charting tool. For those of you that haven't, I guess, looked at us in a while, I'm sure you're wondering, at some point, when is this guy going to talk about charts? They named their company YCharts. Well, here we are. This is what made us famous. We have developed tools that have allowed us to kind of grow past it. For instance, that screening capabilities that I started with. But the charting tool is still something that makes us very unique. It allows you to visualize financial data on top of index data, economic data, start to paint a picture, whether you're comparing two investments, not just historically on price performance, but also on financial performance, or maybe you're overlaying economic data that you think has an impact on this particular industry or company. So as an example, we have Apple here. I can use the command center on the left-hand side of my chart and start to pull in a bunch of different companies. So I might pull in IBM, Microsoft, and let's say Google as their major competitors. And it's as fast as it takes to type them. Again, you have that predictive search functionality across the site. Here we're comparing very different companies with different price points for their stocks. So I'm going to go to the bottom left-hand corner under data format, and I'm going to normalize this data. And when I do that, I can now visualize how these changes have happened in comparison to each other over a custom time period. I've got 1 year selected. You can even do a specific day-to-day date range. I can click 5 and go back even further. And here under financial metrics on the left-hand side, you don't just need to look at price. You can bring in other metrics that you would like to visualize. So maybe you would like to see the top and the bottom line for these companies as well and how those have performed over time. So I can say bring in quarterly revenue over the same time period. REV, I select my metric, and now I've got this messy, colorful rainbow of metrics that don't really make a whole lot of sense anymore. I can then use another aspect of the charting tool, panel layout. Right here I can say, you know what, I want separate charts for each metric so I can compare them a little bit more easier. So now I have one chart on the top comparing their price performance over time, and over that same time period I can see how their revenue has grown or decreased. And I can keep adding metrics here, for instance, perhaps normalized diluted earnings, number of employees, custom metrics, etc. So very useful. You can also save this image. It downloads a high-res PNG file straight to your browser, and you can take this into custom reports, newsletters, blogs, etc. So that's the charting in a nutshell, as well as kind of a good overview of what you can find or expect to find when you're drilling down into a specific company in our system. Finally, I'm going to touch on the most popular service and aspect of the site, and that's going to be our Excel add-in capabilities. So throughout the site, you're going to see export buttons. You can quickly export static data into Excel as you see it on the site to then run your own charts or perhaps keep a log of specific metrics that are important to you. But we actually have one of the most modern coded Excel add-ins in the industry, and it's allowed us to create custom solutions for a wide-ranging, list of problems that different types of companies might have with customizing their research process. So if I go to Tools drop down at the top, I'm going to navigate to Excel. It's a quick installation. It's very easy. You just need the Windows version of Excel, 2007 or later. And what you'll see is when I open up my Excel and show you a couple examples of some models that we've done for folks, you'll see that I actually have a YCharts tab built right into the top of my Excel. And this particular example is a model we've put together. If you're familiar with value lines, 10-page overview or 10-year overview rather for a company, you'll probably recognize this type of formatting. And here this is simply aggregating a bunch of important metrics to your research process for a specific company. It automatically calculates averages and growth metrics. Everything you see here is completely automated and customizable. And it all references this one cell in the bottom left-hand corner of the spreadsheet, 44B. So if I change Apple to Microsoft here and hit enter, you're going to see loading is going to roll into all of these cells. And it's going to, in about a second, update all of that data with this new company. So this is a great example. I like to show this off. It's a very simple use of our Excel add-in, but it's a good way to show off, a foundational use case for the platform and how we can take this data, customize it, and really build something special for each individual use case. Whether you're doing valuation work, whether you're simply building your own dashboard within Excel that might track all the metrics that are important to you, etc. I have one other very nice example of something we recently added to the site. It's another Excel template, a little bit nicer on the eyes in terms of formatting, but it's a great way to actually plug in an entire portfolio of a mixture of investments, whether they're funds, ETFs, stocks, and you can attribute custom weights to them. So here on the left-hand side, I can type in Microsoft and hit enter, and immediately upon hitting enter, it's automatically pulling in all of Microsoft's total return metrics going back in time here. So this total return data is, of course, dividends and distributions reinvested over that time. It's actually a unique aspect of our platform and a surprisingly very difficult type of data to get access to especially with our competitors. And on the bottom of this spreadsheet is also a very useful tool. It allows you to not only put in a portfolio, but also a custom benchmark. Maybe it's a combination of indices and ETFs by different weights, and it's going to automatically calculate your relative performance. So this row 43 here, color-coded to show you, different time periods where your portfolio has lagged your benchmark, different times where it's surpassed it. So a great example of a tool where you can look at portfolio analytics, you can look at one company at a time, or you can even build custom reporting in our system with our Excel tools. Here's another sheet that just shows you calendar returns. Of course, you wouldn't input any data on this one because that would be in the first sheet there. A little bit more about our Excel add-in. Those are just two examples. We have an entire team of Excel modelers here in Chicago, and we actually provide this custom Excel work for free with the cost of the platform. And that's something we're very proud of. It's essentially allowing us to get folks to get the most out of the platform. If there's a specific chart that they'd like to do that they might be able not to do specifically on our site, or perhaps a screen that looks at time series of data, we can basically have that discussion with you and put together a custom set of tools and solutions so that we can get you to exactly where you want to be. It also helps YCharts solve problems that might come up not just only in investment research, but also in marketing, sales prospecting, valuation work for M&A shops. The list goes on, and we have plenty of examples that our team has as kind of a creative database to help you and to help build custom solutions for you. So that is basically my presentation here. I'm going to go to questions that we currently have coming through. Okay, so one question I've got is from Megan. So Megan asks, can we chart total return for mutual funds? So absolutely. Mutual funds and total return metrics for mutual funds are going to be a hugely important aspect of looking at the true return of a fund. So if we go to the tools drop down at the top and we go down to our fundamental chart, which we looked at earlier, you can then type in a mutual fund on the left-hand side. We're going to do PRGFX because it's the only mutual fund I've ever memorized in my life. And here we're looking at the actual total return price for this company. So if I actually bring in regular price return, for this mutual fund, and we go down and we normalize this data, you can actually visualize over time the divergence of the returns as those dividends are reinvested over time. So it's a great presentation for a client to show them perhaps a true return of a fixed income or a blend fund, and it's great to show just the true impact of dividends on a particular position. So that was a great question. Let's see what else we got here. John asks, can I use YCharts in my newsletter? So absolutely. What we've got here is two tools in our fundamental charting tool. Regular fundamental charting tool, and then the charting tool for presentations. So when I click on this, basically it's going to be the same thing, but here you're going to see I have an example. I have a generic company logo built right into the corner of my chart, and here we'll actually put in your firm or company's logo in there. And then when you put together charts like, let's say, Apple versus Microsoft, you normalize it, let's say, you can change the pixel size, your logo is built right into it, and then if I scroll down, I can even add a title. So Microsoft versus Apple. And then what you can do is you can click this embed button just above the chart. This will give you an HTML code that you can then take into a blog. You can save the image again, and this is very useful in terms of inputting into presentations for clients, etc. On the Excel side, we've also been very creatively exploring custom reports built in Excel for clients as well. So portfolio snapshots, maybe market trend analysis using economic data, etc. So it looks like we're actually running out of time here. I got a couple more questions, so I'm actually going to respond to those individually. If you do have any other questions, definitely throw them into the chat box. I'm actually going to be able to follow up with anyone if you'd like after this webinar. If you'd like to do a one-on-one demonstration or discussion, I can take you through YCharts. I can share my screen, and I can show you how somebody in your particular shoes might be able to use the platform. But yeah, I would love to do that. Again, thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and I look forward to corresponding with you afterwards. Have a great one.